It's good to have high hopes. It's good to have faith. It's good to have vision and optimism. You need those things, but you've got to balance it in a place where I'm not going to allow a root of bitterness to get in me around my calling. I'm not going to allow a root of bitterness to grow in my business or ministry because I'm not getting the results that I thought I would as quickly as I would. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Builders Academy podcast. We are so glad you've tuned in today for what we think is a really important episode, Coach Tam. This is one that you said needs to be on rotation, one that you need to be reminded of. You need to have some refreshing on this subject. So we're talking about how to pace for your race and how to play the long game, to get things done, to avoid burnout, to achieve breakthrough. So there's a lot we could dive into here. But Coach Tam, let me pass it to you to get us started. What comes to mind for you first?
Actually, Zack, you came to mind. Baby Zack came to mind. When you were a little boy, obviously not your fault, my fault probably. You were a little chunky monkey. And I remember carrying you around for months and just everything. I was tired all the time. My shoulders were tired. My neck was tired. My back hurt. And I just thought, I can't wait till this baby can walk. I cannot wait till this child can walk on his own two little chunky feet. And it took a little time, but I guess the reason that I thought about that, Zack, is because I think that most of us are eager to get things done, to have the reward, to get the prize, to have the outcome of everything that we're working toward. And we don't necessarily recognize that there is a gestation period, there is a growth period that cannot be rushed. And that kind of like growing something, for those of you who do gardening, you plant, you water, you weed, and you wait because you can't rush that growth. It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen, but it's going to happen in due course. It's going to happen in due time. And I think one of the blessings and benefits and challenges of being in the space of entrepreneurship, of growing a business or a ministry or coaching, creating curriculum, is the blessing and the challenge of learning to wait on the Lord, of learning to be patient and to pace ourselves and recognize that we're going to get there. We are going to get there. But another thing, Zack, I was thinking of was the scripture, cease striving, and know that I am God. God is doing it. You're cooperating with the Holy Spirit. You're doing the thing too. But you have to just accept the fact that there's sort of no rushing growth in a way. You can write a book, you can expedite it, but it still is going to require some time to make it beautiful, to write the whole thing, to download the thoughts that you have. And I think a blessing and a challenge is just being patient, waiting upon the Lord, cease striving, and just recognize that growth and good things take time.
Yeah.
So that's my opening thought.
Yeah, no, amen, Coach Dan. Let me share a verse that I think is a different one, but is one of my favorites from Psalm 127, just on pacing, on leaning into the Lord as we go through the seasons and as there is pushes, as there is obstacles. How do we just kind of keep moving at the pace of peace? Psalm 127, 1 and 2. One of my favorite little passages says, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. So there is an absolutely, like, we'll probably talk a little bit about the push and a little bit about, how to run, right? We still got to run our race, but number one, like, unless the Lord's blessing it, it's not going to work out. And number two, if we put it all on ourselves, it's total vanity. It's total vanity. And that eating the bread of anxious toil. I love that line, that we don't need to do that. We don't need to be just toiling and anxious and just pushing without having the peace and the reliance on the Lord. So I love that. Coach Jillian, my wonderful wife, what do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, I well, I have two thoughts. And when I was thinking about this, I thought of people and a plan. And I'll start with a plan first. And it reminded me of a story when I was in elementary and in junior high and going into high school, I did track and did different events in track. And when I was a middle schooler, I decided to do long distance. I don't know why. But I thought I would do long distance, and I had some friends who were doing it. And I just remember the first time we got out on the track field, I remember that I wasn't used to long distance running, and this was just the training. This was just the beginning. And so, other students had run previously. We get out on the field, and this one was going to be 30 laps. That was going to be how we were going to start. And I just remembered I wasn't sprinting, but I was running pretty quickly. Okay. I wasn't sprinting. And I noticed I was alone. I noticed that the other people who were running were behind me. And I just kind of thought, well, what is going on, right? So I continued to run, and I don't know, let's say like 5 to 7 laps in, my sides were fire. And I was like, this is really intense. Again, nobody had passed me, and I wasn't even racing them, right? I'm just training to figure this thing out. So there was a coach, Coach McClellan, and he was the grandfather of one of the boys who did track, who was a phenomenal long distance runner. So he lets my gas tank get on below empty. And I'm finally sitting on the grass. I'm like grabbing my sides, and he walks over, and he had to be in like his mid 60s. And he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing horrible. What do you mean? How am I doing? But everyone else now is still running. And I just was like, I don't understand. He's like, why were you running so fast? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'd never done this before, and I didn't really think I was running that fast. He goes, you're never going to be a long distance runner running like that. He goes, you got a long way to go, Jillian. And I was like, oh, well, I know, but I thought I could keep up this pace. He's like, you would never be able to keep this pace up for as long as you're going to need to run and finish the race. And I was like, okay. So the months carry on. And this was interesting. So he came up, and he let me see how he coaches his grandson. And he took his grandson, Bunny, through every single lap and said, this is when you're going to push. I want you to run faster on lap 4 and 5. On laps 6 through 9, I want you to pull back. On laps 10 through 12, the goal is to get on the inside lane. And he had a whole plan for how this race was going to go to set him up for success. And I was like, I had zero clue. I had zero clue that was even part of it. So that was the first thing I thought of. It's like, you're going to need a plan, right? If you want to pace for your race, you're going to need a plan. That is important. And you're here. So you have got experts and coaches, and you've got people, which brings me to number 2, but you are going to have a plan. You don't have to think of the plan on your own, because you've got Coach Tam and Coach Zack, and you've got a curriculum, you've got a system, you've got proven tools. So you got a plan. Number 2, Paul Tripp is a pastor and a writer. And this brings me to my last point. He said, you were saved individually to salvation, but you were saved into community. And he talks about, I just want to share, I just have a couple of scriptures here, that he said one of the most important thing is that you think of a we and an us when you think about this race of faith that you are running. And for you and I, as business owners, entrepreneurs, as ministers, kingdom builders, and advancers, that We were saved individually, but saved into a community of believers, brothers and sisters in the Lord's, mothers and fathers. So Coach Tam, so many people will reference her as like the matriarch of, right, of KBA, that she is a mother of the faith, that she is going to come and she's going to give you love and encouragement. And she's going to also kick you in the buns a little bit sometimes when you need a little bit of course correction or direction or discipline. And there's that beautiful balance there. So I just wanted to share a couple like quick verses. So it says, it's saying to stay in company with other believers. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 and verse 12, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. 1 Thessalonians 5:11, therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. The last two verses, Hebrews 3:13, but exhort one another every single day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. And then Hebrews 10:24-25, and let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as it is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So I just love what Paul Tripp was kind of speaking about there, and some of the verses that I found kind of along the way, that you've got to have a plan and you've got to have a people. And I would say that's worth celebrating. I don't know if you see balloons, but I would say in my years of having the privilege of being a part of Kingdom Builders Academy and meeting hundreds of students over those years, that the number one thing is that after you believe that you are called, that this is where you are supposed to be, and you've taken that step of faith. And number two, that you are committed, right? You have perseverance and you are committed to being teachable, to following the systems, doing the right things in the right way, in the right order, and realizing that this is a proven method is number three. You need people. And did you know that doesn't make you weak? That's what makes you strong. And the Bible is so clear that the race for our faith, which includes the building of your business, the building of your ministry, even in life, we need each other. We need community. So in this community, you're going to find strength, and you know what? You're going to need it. You're going to find encouragement. You're going to remain provoked. You're going to find wisdom and insight, and people who have gone before you, who can save you kind of going around the mountain and wandering in the wilderness for time that wasn't necessary. So I would say you're going to need a plan and you're going to need a people. And the great news is that Kingdom Builders Academy has both of those things for you.
That's good. That's so good. I love that. I love that. Very, very good. Yeah, you need a plan and a people for your race. That's excellent. Let's keep the race, the race analogies going, because Jillian, you were talking about like you had a long distance race and you got the pace wrong.
Yeah.
And if you would have, recognized how long the race is at the beginning, you would be able to say, okay, I can set my pace for this race. I ran the 400 meter in track. I did 1 year of track. The 400 meter chewed me up and spit me out, because that is the worst of both worlds. It's just a full on sprint for a minute. And it's terrible. But, so you got to know what kind of race I'm in, because I got to know, like, hey, what is my pace going to be? What kind of speed should I run? How long is this going to take? So let me ask you an important question. How long is the race of building a brand, business, ministry, fulfilling the call of God on your life? How long is that race? Like, what are you committed to? Like, tell me in the chat, like, what's your commitment on that race? A little pop quiz. No wrong answers. I'll tell you my answer. And I got the same answer as Kim, as Melissa, is the race is forever, right? It's the rest of your life. It's the rest of your life. So whether you got 5 years, 20 years, 50 years, the race is the rest of your life. The race is forever. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about this, like when we brought up this topic in the last 24 hours, and it's something I'd maybe already been thinking about, but I've been president of Kingdom Builders Academy coming up on 8 years next month. Coach Tam, you've been in the game a lot longer than me, and with Kingdom Builders Academy as well. I think our greatest achievement is staying in the game. It's not the thousands of clients, the millions of dollars, the, testimonies and the whatever metrics of success that you could point to. I think our greatest achievement is staying in the game, because that's what allows us to continue to multiply. That's what allows you to continue to compound. It reminds me of Dr. John Maxwell, one of our friends of the family here at KBA. He's in his late 70s, 78 maybe right now. And he just talks about how these are the most fruitful years of my life. The reason I'm still running my race is because these are the most fruitful years of my life, because I've got 50, 60 years of stored up compounding, right? He's got more influence, bigger following, more resources than ever before, right? Because he's stayed in the game for decades. So I would challenge you to put on a long game view. And I think the ideal is the race is forever, right? Like, let me just buckle in for the rest of my life because the race is forever. So let's just recognize, like, what is the course ahead? It's the rest of your life. So, like, let's just maybe take one step back and say, I'm buckling at least for the next decade, right? I think you got to have a decades-long perspective. I've always even thought of my life in decades, like, hey, what am I going to do with my 20s and my 30s and my 40s and my 50s? Like, I think having a decades-long perspective is really valuable, because the people that we look to as like the great influencers of our generation, the John Maxwells, John Bevere's and friends, is the thing they all have in common is decades. Like, they've put in decades, they've compounded decades, they've been running the race for decades. So that's I think where I wanted to start, is that, hey, the race is forever. Our greatest achievement is just staying in the game. One of your greatest achievements will be staying in the game. One of the things I always love to circle back to is Coach Tam, one of your friends, a big mega ministry leader. You asked him, like, hey, what's your secret to success, or what's like the what was the question, Coach Tam? Is it the secret to success, or what? How did you phrase it? Yeah. So what's your secret to success? And he said, it's encouraging myself. Like, that's the secret to success, is I've got to encourage myself, like the same way that David strengthened himself in the Lord, that David encouraged himself in the Lord. That is something that you will have to learn how to do. And honestly, like, look, if you've just been through life, like, that's something that you learn. You just need that in life. So I would just remind you to apply that in business, to apply that in ministry, that as you need to encourage yourself in life to take it one day at a time and to just keep pressing in and to keep pressing into the Lord, you're going to need to do the same thing in business. You're going to need to do the same thing in ministry. You're going to need to do the same thing in running a decades-long race, is to encourage yourself. Last point I have is a word of warning. This is a word of warning, and it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. It's around expectations. And the thing about expectations, there's a lot to dive into with expectations. I'll just touch one thing on unmet expectations. Unmet expectations lead to resentments, and resentments lead to contempt. And I think people get bad expectations around their business, around their ministry, around their dream. And if you're not careful, you can grow to hate your business. You can grow to have contempt and resentment for your calling, for your ministry, for your business. So here's the kind of where, if we back it up to the beginning, an expectation that I see very consistently is that we have very high expectations that we're going to get results quicker, that we're going to get very fast results, that we're going to hit 6 figures right away, that we're going to hit 100,000 followers in a year. And that is a unicorn kind of thing. Like, to hit 100,000 followers in a year is a unicorn kind of thing. To hit 6 figures in 3 months is a unicorn kind of thing. And I can tell you, a lot of people come into KBA with that expectation. And look, I love the optimism, and I love the faith, and I love the vision. So I don't want to condemn it, but I do want to give you a word of warning about expectations, is that unmet expectations create resentments. And if you allow those resentments to brood, they will create contempt. And I've just seen too many business leaders, even business leaders decades in, ministry leaders decades in, people who have a mission and a calling that have unmet expectations. Like, God, I expected this. Like, God, you spoke this over me, and I had these expectations, and I haven't met these expectations yet. And that creates resentment. And then that can lead to contempt. So I just want to give you a word of warning about expectations. It's good to have high hopes. It's good to have faith. It's good to have vision and optimism. You need those things, but you've got to balance it in a place where I'm not going to allow a root of bitterness to get in me around my calling. I'm not going to allow a root of bitterness to grow in my business or ministry because I'm not getting the results that I thought I would as quickly as I would. Because it is a very common thing. 90% of the time, you will not get the results that you thought you would as quickly as you would. You will get the results eventually. You know, I really do firmly believe that if you stay in the game, you will get those results that you wanted, that God spoke into you, that are promises. Like you will get there. But if your expectations are that they're going to happen right away, it can be a dangerous thing. It can be a slippery slope. So I just think that's an important thing, that as you're running your race, that, hey, we just set our expectations accordingly, that, hey, I'm going to get there. And when I get there, that's going to be great. But I'm not going to allow a root of bitterness to grow in me because I've got some unmet expectations right out of the gate. Coach Tam?
Good. Yeah, I'd like to just leave you with a little bit of practical application. I believe that God has given us certain indicators. We have certain indicators that will help us to run our race with purpose and with perseverance. And I think that we can kind of equate it to when you're tired, you're sleepy, you're tired, and you try to push through. Nothing good is going to happen in that place. You're just going to make yourself miserable. So when you're sleepy, tired, the best thing to do is to go to bed, go to sleep, right? When you are hungry, you're just hungry and you're hangry, you're getting mad, you're irritable. That is a sign that you need to nourish yourself, right? When there's pain in your body, that's a sign that you need to look into that. Why is that there? What is that doing? And I think in a similar vein, when you are frustrated and depressed, that's an indicator that we need to do something. And I have a lot of firsthand experience with this because my precious husband, he has severe ADHD. And it's been a real challenge. It's been a challenge to him. It's been a challenge in our relationship. And the thing with ADHD that I've learned is that people who deal with this, they have to monitor their energy. It's energy management is really critical for them. And they don't necessarily have good recognition of when to turn off, of when to hit the pause button. And so my husband, for instance, he will go and go and go and go and try and cram everything into a single day. But his list is weeks or months long of things that he has to accomplish, chores that he has to do, tasks that he has to do. And he will get very frustrated and feel unproductive. Even if he did 100 things in a day, he'll feel unproductive and unhappy with himself because he's got 3,000 things on his list. And so I'm sharing this with you because I think that all of us to a certain degree struggle with these same issues. Maybe Matt has it more than other people, than myself, but we all struggle with these same kind of issues. So when we're feeling frustrated and depressed and unhappy about our production, I believe that that's an indicator light that we need to push pause, that we need to get outside, that we need to take a break. And it's a challenge for all of us to do that. But I think that if you begin to sort of process it in this way, that there's a reason that I'm feeling this, and what do I do now? So it's easy when you're, but even when you're hungry or even when you're tired, sometimes we have to stop and think, wait, how long has it been since I ate? Maybe I need to take a little rest. So when you're feeling that, when you're feeling frustrated, upset, tired, depressed about the work that we're doing, please take a break, have a pause, just get outside. The air outside is better than the air that's inside. Just getting outside and getting some fresh air, it will revive and refresh you. And I think that if you take that long-term approach, that the race is for life. It's not for until I get my book published. It's not until I get that podcast launched. It's not until I fill up my group coaching program. It's forever. The race is forever. So in order to pace ourselves, we have to be good parents of ourselves. And we need to recognize that there, for everything, there is a season, and there is a season to sprint, and there is a season to walk and to rest. And so I leave you with that little bit of wisdom, because that will help you. That will help you in a big way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coach Zack, can I just say one quick thing about the people is just choose them wisely, choose them carefully. And I will say something that for me, that I probably didn't appreciate this until I got a little bit older. So when I say that, for example, people who are going to have permission to speak into your life, permission to give you a plan, because when we have a plan, we're giving them permission. We're giving them access to speak into us, into our decisions around our business and our ministry, whether it's a mentor or a coach or a friend or whatever the case may be, someone within KBA. Choose your people wisely. And something that I have valued more and more is that, for example, Coach Tam, for all that she has been through in her life, she can say something, right? Let's just say, she gives a word of wisdom. I could hear that from someone else that's maybe half her age or younger. And if they sat me down and they said, and maybe even had a script of like maybe a message she was going to give, do you know that it would not mean the same? And I genuinely wouldn't take it to heart the same way. That the mothers and the fathers in the faith and as mentors, when she tells me it's going to be okay, she tells me a story, she speaks wisdom, it hits differently because I know the price that she paid and I know she's gone before me. So as you pick your people, and some of those people like Coach Tam and Coach Zack, and I'm not taking away Coach Zack's brilliance, but I think there is wisdom that comes with age. Just like Coach Zack talked about with John Maxwell, make sure that you include on your team some people who've really been around the mountain, people who have logged miles with Jesus, people who have built businesses, seen them fall apart and built again, because that, I'm telling you, is invaluable. So I just wanted to encourage you that as you're picking your people, choose wisely and make sure that you do give them access, because for them to take the time to speak into your world and make that best yes investment, and for you to kind of continue on your own path, it's not going to help you. And it's a waste of your time and a waste of theirs. So pick your people wisely and then let them have access and follow through on what they're saying, because there is purpose in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. I love it. I love it. Well, such a great episode. Find your pace, find your people, find your plan. Hey, if this episode's spoken to you, send it to a friend, send it in your group chat, text out the link. We would love for you to share it. And we will see you next time on the Kingdom Builders Academy podcast. God bless.
Hi, this is Tamara Lowe, founder of Kingdom Builders Academy, here with a free gift for you, our loyal podcast listeners. We're giving away free copies of my newest book, Business Plus Ministry Equals Success, a superior model to profitably change your world. You can download your free copy right now at kbabook.com. That's kbabook.com. Thanks for tuning in to the Kingdom Builders Academy podcast today. Join us again for our next exciting episode.